Hello everyone and welcome to your second royal reading. Today at MadWorldTarot, it is a Friday afternoon as I'm doing this reading, and I'm looking at the stories. There are more than one story. Stories about Harry house hunting in the UK, buying a home back in the UK, wanting to divide his time between the US and the UK. That's one version of the story. Another version of the story is that he has applied to the royal family to rent an apartment at Kensington Palace, and I'm going to have a look at this now. I've looked at it from Harry's point of view. I'm going to look at it now from the royals' point of view, and I was wondering if I should divide the royals into the William camp and the King Charles camp, but I've decided not to. It's a short little reading, 5-card reading. I just want to test the energy with the cards, and I'm using the Knights Templar Tarot for this. It's very royal family kind of a tarot deck. Not conspiracy theory, it's just royal family tarot deck. People who are doing service, unlike the people in Montecito who claim that service is universal but haven't actually committed to a life of service at all, in my opinion. So that's why I'm using the Knights Templar Tarot for this one. We're going to have a look and we're going to ask how they feel about Harry allegedly house hunting. He's apparently in the property market, going up the property ladder, or down you might say, looking to purchase a home near London, just outside London. We know what's just outside London, Windsor Castle. Perhaps that. Then we're going to ask if they would allow him to rent an apartment at Kensington Palace, if that's a possibility. The royals as a collective, not individually William or Charles. Collectively, see if the energy comes through in a solid way. It might not, because they might be very conflicted about this, very divided about this. We're going to ask if they would welcome Meghan Markle at Kensington Palace, assuming she would deign to set foot back in the UK. And then we're going to ask what kind of reception Harry could expect from the royals if he did buy a property there or rent an apartment at Kensington Palace. Would he get a rapturous reception or a cold shoulder? So that's what we're going to look at. Little reading. We might pick the story up again later on and see if there is conflict within the ranks of the royal family. But for now, I just want to see what their collective energy is in regards to the story. I got some cards in the previous reading that said to me that Harry didn't have much hope of Kensington Palace, but let's see what this reading tells us. And of course, it's just tarot for fun and entertainment, or my opinion, or speculation. I read energy here, and there is a disclaimer in the box below. So let's see. Oh, there's the home card, the happy home card, the 4 of Wands. That is the royal family, the firm, that is celebration, a safe haven. So we're looking at home, and we're looking at someone who wants to be home, whose home situation in California might be broken, but certainly views the UK now in a very different way to the way he might have viewed it a few years ago when he left on that freedom flight. So that's interesting, very interesting. Okay, the actual situation, that's just the underlying energy, is the Knight of Pentacles. That's has been is in reverse. He has ground to a halt. His adventure overseas has come to a screeching halt. Well, when you're the Knight of Pentacles, not a screeching halt, but that horse who's been plodding along rather listlessly has now stopped. It might be in that unfortunate metaphor of flogging a dead horse. It has that energy for me as a reader of beyond hope of resuscitation. It's dead, it's done, it's finished, and now he's got to crawl back with his tail between his legs, and that's exactly the same energy I got in the previous reading. So far energy is stacking up, it's consistent, and that is him, our Knight of Pentacles, our earth sign prince. I was going to say earthly prince, but our earth sign prince, the Virgo, who has failed to make his pentacles in the US very successfully despite what we are told, and now has reached a dead end. So how do the royals feel about him coming back to the UK and buying a house in the UK? Ruin. There we go. That's what we've been talking about, the Ten of Swords. He is ruined. And it would be an admission that he is ruined. That everything that he set off to achieve, everything he said, everything he did, everything he claimed he believed was an absolute failure. His marriage is a failure, his career is a failure, his attempts to set himself up in the US, all a failure, as a writer, as a producer, as a business person, as a humanitarian, as a polo player, you name it, it has failed. And it would be a spectacular admission of defeat on his part, this looking for property in the UK, buying a home in the UK, and a non-royal home at that. It would not be on royal property, it would be some kind of a place, well, I won't say what you and I could afford, because no, it wouldn't be, but not royal. It's a huge fall from grace. How about letting him have a home at Kensington Palace, allowing him to rent at Kensington Palace? Is not a freebie the way the story is told. It's he has applied to rent at Kensington Palace, peppercorn rent perhaps, but nevertheless he has applied to rent, to be a tenant. How about that? How's that going down? Would they contemplate this? Nope. Exactly the same card that I got as the underlying energy of the previous reading, Fool in reverse. Nope, you don't get another chance. You don't come around again with your nonsense. You were stupid, you were reckless, you were rash, you were vicious. You wrote a book condemning us. Gleefully, you went on television all over the place in the UK and the US, and it was seen worldwide. Oprah interview and all the interviews when he was promoting Spare, and he trashed the royals. He trashed Camilla, William, Catherine, Charles, everyone. He was rude about everyone, even the late Queen and Prince Philip. He was awful. And so no, you don't get another chance. And it wasn't just the book, it was the Netflix documentary, it was all kinds of things. Lied, really accused them of terrible things. And so no, no, and no. How about allowing Madame, this one's wife, to stay at Kensington Palace? Would they tolerate that? Would they bar the gates, drop the portcullis on her head if she did try to storm the castle? It's not a castle. That's an interesting card. Temperance. They would be kindly about it. They would have to be. They would have to give some semblance of what's the word? Equality. With that temperance card, they can't just say no, because then of course the race card gets played, and look, they won't let a biracial woman stay at Kensington Palace. So there's that. So they would be temperate, they would be moderate, they wouldn't be hasty response. They would take their time, I get with this. They would take their time in replying. We're getting that no, he's not going to be allowed to rent at Kensington Palace, but there was a throwaway comment in one of the articles I read in the previous reading which said that it's not out of the question that he could stay there from time to time. So in other words, if he was for instance, visiting the UK because he had a court case going on, then he might say, oh, Dad, could I stay there for a week or so? So it's that kind of feeling. And, oh, if we're visiting because it's Charles's 75th birthday party, could we perhaps stay at Kensington Palace for a night or two? They would be the good angels. They would do their best to look welcoming and kind, and yes, of course, you're a much loved member of the family. That would stick in some people's craws, I'm sure, but that's because they're royal and they have to look like this. They can't respond like a normal person would and say hell no. They have to do the right thing, or be seen to be doing the right thing, whether or not they are actually doing the right thing. I get, interestingly, in this card a lot of time wasting, dragging heels, messages getting lost, Charles doesn't have a cell phone, a mobile phone, so he's out walking on the moors and we haven't seen him for days, or that email disappeared in the spam folder, that kind of energy. But they won't come out right out and say, absolutely not, you witch, don't ever darken our doorstep again. That would be me, but that's not them. So there it is. They do see it for what it is, though. They see the Knight of Pentacles, the dead horse. They see the ruin. They realise that this is happiness for has-been, that being back in the UK, being back in the royal fold would be so lovely for him. He would be so comforted and feel so, wrapped in a fuzzy blanket of love and happiness. And Mummy Diana's statue out in the garden, he could go and stare at it any time he wanted to. And she, who allegedly wants to visit and fall on her knees and ask for guidance, she could do that, provided the Netflix cameras went rolling, of course. Going to have a look at that story because it's wild, really. Anyway, let's get back to business here and see what kind of reception Harry would get if he did move back to the UK. Oof. There's another ruin card. Look at that. Very graphic. Well, not graphic, but it's very vivid depiction of this Four of Swords. Somebody who's defeated. We've got that again. Absolutely defeated. Who's dead, who's finished. And they all know it. His reputation is finished. So don't worry about this card, because this is where the real business is in this reading. Absolutely. And there is no prospect of this reputation ever being restored with that Four of Swords in reverse. He's coming back to lick his wounds with the Four of Swords. That's what you do when you are defeated. Three of Swords, heartbroken, betrayed, ruined. And then you have the Four of Swords, where you retire and you heal and you pray and you meditate and you think and you wonder what you did wrong and you try and think about how you might do things better. But the Four of Swords in reverse, not going to happen. He is going to be viewed as an enemy in their midst, somebody who is broken, wounded beyond repair, that they don't want to have anything to do with, very isolated. The Four of Swords is a very isolated energy. It's very alone. He's dead to them. And a lot of death in this reading, even though we don't have the death card. But we have the dead horse, we have the dead prince, Ten of Swords, and we have him again dead in the Four of Swords. And I don't mean that literally, but that's why they can afford to be angelic with the Temperance card if she wanted to turn up, because they know the crazy fool has ruined his life. And I'm getting that Mr. T kind of fool vibe when I say that from the A-team. Done. Absolutely done. So there is your reading, sobering reading, even though, as I very often say, I don't have any sympathy for him anymore, given the way he's treated his family and what a lot of people describe as elder abuse. And I personally am also of that opinion that what he and his wife did was elder abuse, not just to his family, but to her family as well, her father. But anyway, just desserts in this reading. Just desserts. So that's it for now, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.